The United States has eased its demand for aid repayment from Ukraine during recent economic talks between the two nations. Sources say the Trump administration has lowered its estimate of U.S. assistance to Kyiv from $300 billion to around $100 billion, bringing it closer to Ukraine's figure of over $90 billion. Washington is now proposing a deal to share profit from Ukraine's future investment projects, particularly in infrastructure and minerals, as compensation for past military and economic aid. A key part of the agreement would give the U.S. priority access to profits through a reconstruction fund controlled by Washington. However, Ukraine is pushing back, refusing to classify previous aid as debt and seeking more favorable terms. Negotiations are ongoing, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stating that a deal could be signed soon. Despite progress, major disagreements remain, especially over future U.S. investment commitments and the structure of the fund, that we are very, very close. It could even be signed as early as this week. Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to meet with Qatar's Emir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, in Moscow this week to discuss key global issues, including the ongoing war in Ukraine and tensions across the Middle East. According to Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, the leaders will exchange views on both the Ukrainian conflict and broader regional affairs. Peskov emphasized the complexity of the Middle East, calling it a region replete with conflict potential, and acknowledged Qatar's significant role in efforts to mediate and resolve various crises. The emir is expected to arrive in Moscow on Wednesday, with formal talks scheduled for Thursday. Qatar has previously taken active steps to mediate between Russia and Ukraine, notably helping reunite children separated from their families due to the war. The Kremlin also praised Qatar's efforts and emphasized the importance of their ongoing collaboration. Peskov highlighted the value of the two countries' growing trade and economic ties, as well as their confidential dialogue on sensitive international matters. The meeting comes at a critical time as both nations look to strengthen diplomatic engagement and influence outcomes in two of the world's most volatile regions, Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Sloan, IBM, and of course, there will definitely be an exchange of opinions between Putin and the Emir of Qatar on Ukrainian affairs. There will also be an exchange of opinions on regional affairs. The region is full of conflict potential, and Qatar plays a very large and important role in attempts to resolve many situations. We highly value the potential and the existing level of our trade and economic cooperation and, of course, our trusting dialogue on many topics, including the most sensitive ones. Russia has reportedly asked the United States to allow the purchase of Boeing aircraft using billions of dollars in frozen Russian assets once a ceasefire in Ukraine is in place, according to a source familiar with the matter in Moscow. The request isn't a condition for ending the conflict, but Russia understands the funds can't be used without a truce. Bloomberg reported a potential deal could become part of broader negotiations around sanctions relief. Should fighting come to a halt? The U.S. National Security Council confirmed that no economic discussions will take place until a ceasefire is reached. Boeing, the Kremlin, and the State Department all declined to comment. The U.S. will not discuss any economic commitments until the ceasefire has been reached. Russia has also publicly requested that sanctions be lifted on Aeroflot and that direct U.S.-Russia flights resume. Another proposal yet to receive a public response since the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Over $280 billion in Russian central bank reserves have been frozen by the U.S. and its allies. Russia's aviation sector, heavily reliant on Boeing and Airbus jets, has faced severe challenges due to sanctions, with Boeing facing pressure from trade tensions in other global markets. Russia's request adds a complex layer to an already delicate geopolitical and economic landscape. Notably, the White House confirmed a productive conversation between the U.S. and Russia with the potential for future economic partnerships, but only if a ceasefire in Ukraine is achieved. First, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt emphasized that President Trump and envoy Steve Witkoff believe Russia wants to end the war.
What I can tell you is that a productive conversation was had. As the presidential envoy Steve Witkoff said last night, he believes that Russia wants to end this war, and the president believes that as well. There is incentive for Russia to end this war, and perhaps that could be economic partnerships with the United States, but we need to see a ceasefire first, and the president and the presidential envoy Witkoff made that very clear to the Russians.
NATO's Secretary General, Mark Rutte, visited the Ukrainian port city of Odessa alongside President Volodymyr Zelensky, reaffirming the alliance's steadfast support in the wake of a deadly Russian missile strike on Sumy that claimed 35 lives. During the visit, Rutte delivered a strong message of solidarity, declaring NATO's stands with Ukraine and condemned Russia as the clear aggressor in the ongoing war that NATO's stand with Ukraine. His visit came at a critical time, underscoring NATO's role in backing Ukraine's defense and sovereignty. However, just hours later, Russian forces launched a major drone assault on Odessa, injuring at least 3 civilians and inflicting significant damage on homes and civilian infrastructure. The attack served as a stark reminder of the relentless violence Ukraine continues to face, even amid diplomatic efforts and international support. Rutte's presence on Ukrainian soil symbolized NATO's commitment, while the fresh wave of strikes highlighted the urgent need for de-escalation and peace.